the shoulder that wouldn't bow, Marc Márquez's war against his own body. He'd already conquered the grid. Now he had to conquer himself. From the Mandalika gravel to the operating table in Madrid, Marc Márquez walks back into the same fire that nearly destroyed him 5 years ago. This isn't a comeback story. It's a psychological autopsy of obsession. The 2025 world champion, cut open again by fate, trapped in a body that refuses peace. Ducati wanted dominance. Márquez wanted war. What he got was a reminder: kings don't fall to rivals, they fall to anatomy. What follows is a battlefield report from the quietest war Márquez has ever fought, against time, pain, and memory itself. 250 words. At Mandalika, the air still smells of burnt ambition. Turn 7, fast, blind, merciless, did what no rider could. It stopped Marc Márquez. Bezzecchi's Aprilia clipped the Ducati's rear like a sniper's bullet. In a single flash, the 7-time king went cartwheeling into the gravel, the same shoulder twisting like it remembered every ghost from Jerez 2020. Fans saw only dust and chaos. Ducati saw a season that was already done. Márquez saw the one thing he can't ever outrun: his own fragility. He'd already sealed the 2025 championship at MotoGP, 512 points, 14 sprints, 11 Grand Prix wins. He was untouchable, and maybe that's the curse. Champions fall when they start to believe the war is over. By the time he landed, the right shoulder had fractured, ligaments torn like old paper. Madrid would tell him later what he already knew in that moment: destiny had a sick sense of humor. He smiled in pain when he stood up, because warriors laugh when the body betrays them, and the world held its breath. Would this be another Jerez 2020, a rush back into darkness, or would the Ant of Cervera finally outsmart his own madness? Drop your thoughts below. Was this fate, karma, or the price of being built different? The week after Mandalika was an echo chamber. Ducati posted calm statements. Bezzecchi apologized. Social media turned into a courtroom of rage. "Ban Bezzecchi," screamed one side. "Racing incident," murmured the rational few. And in the middle of it all, Márquez said the one sentence that separated predators from prey: "It's part of racing." No fury, no blame, just control, the kind that hides storms beneath silence. He flew to Madrid the same night. Painkillers, scans, ice, repetition. The medical reports danced between optimism and denial. A coracoid fracture, ligament strain, bruised pride. They said no surgery needed. He nodded, smiled, and left the hospital. But his eyes gave away something darker. He'd been here before. He knew that optimism is the first stage of relapse. For Ducati, it was déjà vu wrapped in anxiety. They'd signed Márquez not just for titles, but for dominance, a symbol that their machine had found its human weapon. Losing him for the final stretch meant losing momentum before the 2026 war even began. Davide Tardozzi, always the general in the paddock trench, told the media he can rest now, focus on winter. Translation: we've already won the war, no need to die for it. But Márquez doesn't rest, he recalculates. Behind the scenes, his physio Carlos Garcia was already uneasy. He'd seen this movie before, Jerez 2020, when Márquez shattered his arm, flew home, then returned in 4 days, only to end his season in one reckless attempt at immortality. That single mistake cost him 2 years of prime life, a title streak, and a piece of his identity. Now, history was humming the same tune. He was 32, champion again, but carrying the burden of scar tissue and memory. The Ducati garage was quieter that week. Engineers cleaned data screens that no longer mattered. The GP25 had done its job. Binder was complaining about gravel safety, Acosta about aero drag, Bagnaia about balance, but none of that mattered. The paddock had moved on to the next gossip cycle, only Márquez hadn't. He woke up one morning and couldn't raise his arm above his head. The doctors had said immobilize and wait. But waiting is death to a man whose identity is motion. The second checkup told the truth. The ligaments weren't healing, the fracture hadn't stabilized. The same body that had endured 2 decades of violence was rebelling again. When the call came for surgery, he didn't hesitate. He'd rather cut himself open than sit still. Who do you think he was fighting? Bezzecchi, destiny, or the ghost of 2020? Comment your take. The Ruber International Hospital in Madrid, bright, cold, sterile. This was no racetrack, yet it felt like one. Under anesthesia, the war continued in silence. Metal met flesh. Doctors repaired what ambition had torn, the acromioclavicular ligaments, the fractured coracoid. The scalpel became the new throttle. The heartbeat monitor became the lap timer. And the man who had fought Rossi, Lorenzo, Dovizioso, and Bagnaia was now racing the clock inside his own body. 3 hours later, the message dropped. Surgery successful. Fans flooded Ducati's Instagram like it was a digital vigil. Take your time, King. Don't rush back. You already proved everything. The irony burned. Márquez, the man who made his name by never waiting, was now the global symbol of patience. Meanwhile, Bezzecchi walked free. Cleared to race Australia, penalized by the stewards, but unharmed. He'd gone to Márquez's room before leaving, eyes heavy, apology trembling. Márquez waved it off. It happens. I've done worse. And he had. He's ended dreams and bones with the same detachment. But this time, he was the collateral. Phillip Island loomed without its reigning king. Ducati brought Michel Pirro, the loyal test soldier, to fill the empty seat. The red bike without the red-eyed demon felt wrong. TV cameras still zoomed on the empty chair in the garage. The name M. Márquez, number 93, untouched. That silence on pit lane hit harder than any crash replay. At home, Márquez began the cycle. Ice packs, elastic bands, micro movements. Each rehab day felt longer than any race distance. He joked in a clip, "At least this time I won't crash at Jerez." The humor was armor, but beneath it sat dread. He knew Ducati's winter tests were coming. He knew 2026 would demand a full reset, new tire allocations, fuel limits, aero revisions. And he wanted to start ahead, not as a recovering relic. Meanwhile, in the paddock, whispers began. Will he ever stop pushing? Does he know when to quit? Is his body breaking faster than his mind can adapt? They called him reckless once, then cursed him for slowing down. The sport eats its gods and then demands their resurrection. Brad Binder, always blunt, said it best. The gravel saved him from worse. That circuit could have been the end. He wasn't wrong. Mandalika's gravel has been criticized for years. Sharp, inconsistent, unforgiving. The difference between bruises and bones lies in inches of sand. By the time the bandages came off, Márquez could barely rotate his arm, but his smile returned, not because he was healing, but because pain meant progress. He's addicted to recovery like others are addicted to speed. His fans knew. The comments under every Ducati post carried the same message: don't rush back. He read them, liked a few, but deep down, everyone knows he will. That's who he is. Does greatness ever learn restraint, or does it simply adapt its session? Drop your verdict. The collapse, well than 100 words. Collapse doesn't always happen on the racetrack. Sometimes it happens in your head when the adrenaline fades. Márquez's worst enemy has always been his own resilience. Every time life tried to break him, he came back angrier. But what if the body stops responding? What if the comeback reflex becomes a trap? His physio admitted regret publicly. Back in 2020, he hadn't stopped Marc from returning too soon. That decision turned a broken arm into a 3-year exile. Now history had arrived wearing the same disguise. Doctors told him 6 weeks minimum before mobility training. He was doing stretches in 4. They said full recovery in 3 months. He set alarms for 2. Ducati begged him to wait for Portimao in November. He asked for Jerez. This isn't impatience. It's addiction, the compulsion to reclaim control after the universe reminds you you're mortal. Tardazzi told the press, Marc can focus on 2026 testing, but inside the paddock, the red camp was uneasy. A bored Márquez is a dangerous Márquez. Every injury turns into an experiment, every limitation a challenge. He's not resting, he's plotting. For Bezzecchi, the shadow of that collision will hang longer than any penalty. The Italian admitted privately he still sees it in his head, the Ducati flipping, the shoulder bending, the scream he never heard. In another timeline, Bezzecchi would be the hero of Mandalika. Instead, he's the footnote in someone else's pain. Australia came and went. Pirro finished 10th, dull, clean, safe. The kind of ride Márquez would have called a waste of fuel. Bagnaia celebrated finishing third like a relief, but his podium smile looked hollow. Ducati was red, but without rage. By Sepang, even the cameras stopped asking where Márquez was. He'd become the ghost of his own victory parade. He won the war in Japan, lost his body in Indonesia, and now he sat in a Madrid apartment surrounded by trophies that felt like medical evidence. Sometimes collapse isn't falling apart. It's realizing you've already done everything there is, and still you want to go again. Can a man who's already won it all still find purpose in surviving? Or is survival itself the new addiction? Comment your truth. History repeats because ego doesn't heal. Márquez's life is the case study. 2013, fearless. 2019, untouchable. 2020, shattered. 2023, reborn. 2025, champion again. And now, fractured once more. It's as if destiny keeps testing whether he can outstubborn time itself. The difference now is awareness. He knows the next crash could end his career. He said it bluntly to his circle, "One more wrong hit and I'm done." Yet that admission didn't sound like surrender. It sounded like a dare to fate. The operation might be the smartest decision he's made in 5 years. For once, he didn't rush. He accepted stillness as a weapon. In his mind, the 2026 grid isn't just another season. It's the rearmament. New tires, new fuel rules, a clean slate. The legend can start fresh, but only if the flesh allows it. For Ducati, this break is political gold. They can rest their champion, milk the PR sympathy, and enter next year with double confidence. Bagnaia might see it as a window of redemption, but everyone knows the hierarchy will reset once number 93 returns. What's terrifying is not his injury, it's his clarity. He no longer races for survival. He races for legacy. And legacy doesn't care about pain thresholds. Every scar on his body is an autograph on history. The irony of 2025 is that the same man who made Ducati godlike also reminded them of mortality. They built the perfect machine. It still bleeds through its rider. When he returns, whether at Portimao or the winter test in Valencia, the grid will remember what absence feels like. Márquez doesn't need to prove he's the fastest anymore. He needs to prove he can still rise without breaking. Because deep down, MotoGP doesn't just need him, it fears a world without him. So here's the question that defines every scar, every ligament, every sleepless night under rehab lights. When the body quits before the will, what does a legend become? A memory or a myth that refuses to die? Comment your take. Subscribe for more savage breakdowns. We're not done. The next war begins in 2026.